he still works here. He works. He's probably gonna stop by because
a fire, so we'll probably not even be
yeah,
very close to
yeah,
it.
that's fine.
But you know, it'll be what it'll be.
Um, here's Here's the thing.
Yep.
Is that right after you meet, right after you guys meet,
Today's Viking Day.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our school board meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at this time. Do we have any amendments to the agenda, Dr. Grego?
Madam Chair, we have one slight amendment to the agenda, and that is on page 49. I'm amending that Ms. Mason, who's listed at this point at, I put the electronic version on your board agenda, listed as job abandonment and should be reported under resignation. So I've made that change, and that's my only amendment. Thank you.
Okay. The following change has been made to the February 25th, 2019 school board agenda. Consent agenda for correction to the item. 11.2, request approval of personnel recommendations. Employee A. Tatiana R. Mason was listed as job abandonment, page 49, and should have been reported under the resignation section, page 50. Effective date is January 31st, 2019. Regarding the following amendment to today's agenda, I find good cause to amend consent agenda item number 2 on pages 49 and 50 as described by Dr. Grego. Do we have a motion for the adoption of the agenda, please?
Move approval as amended.
Do we have a second, please? Dr. Carr?
I'd like to pull consent item number 12, pages 118 through 128, and pages 149 through 155.
Could you give us those numbers again?
Page 118 through 128, and page 149 through 155.
So that's consent agenda item number 12.
Yes, ma'am.
Those will be pulled from consent and they will follow accordingly. So the process for board members, what we'll do before we take up the consent agenda item, we will discuss those items. We will take action on those items, and then we can take up the consent agenda item, full item. Is that correct? All right. For the person who made the first and second motion for the agenda, will you accept the changes and
Yes.
corrections on the agenda? The first and second? Okay, so we will be pulling items number 12, pages 149 through 155. I'm sorry, page 118 through 128 and 149 through 155. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? Thank you very much. We have our invocation today by Pastor Joe Glimpf, Prince of Peace Lutheran Church. Hello and welcome. That will be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. We will have our national anthem from Northeast High School Viking Chorus, followed by a second song that will be introduced by the choral director, Bridget M. Heiser. Please stand.
Let us pray. God of all grace, we thank you for Pinellas County, our home, for the friends and family you have given us, for all our many blessings. We are now just weeks from the midpoint of semester, a year where we've seen children and youth hone skills with words and numbers and sciences, where young athletes and artists have been investing their talents, where many youth develop skills they didn't know they could that will take them far past graduation. Gracious God, we praise you for the opportunity to teach all the children and youth you have placed into our care. Bless parents with a resolve to create a firm foundation for learning at home. Bless as well our teachers and administrators, our support staff, these board leaders who give their lives over to the task of fashioning a positive learning environments every day. May we stir imaginations and encourage curiosity and teach our youth and children how to learn all their lives long. And bless our children and youth, we pray. Give them strength to resist temptations, to walk where it is unsafe, and to withstand pressures to do what is unwise. Encourage them in opportunities to grow their minds and inspire them, in them open hearts to serve and help one another from pre-K to high school and beyond. Hear our prayers, O God, for you are indeed our rock and our Redeemer. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, my name is Bridget Immenheiser. I am the proud choral director of Northeast High School. Our second performance that we are going to sing for you tonight is called I Am Not Yours by David Childs.
Not
That was absolutely fabulous. We have such a wonderful music department, art department, and we are so thankful again to Northeast High School Vikings for honoring us with the singing of the national anthem as well as the song "I Am Not Yours." Thank you again so much to their choral director as well. You do a phenomenal job with our students. Thank you so much. Go Vikings. That was Coach Dudley. I heard him say it.
What's Viking? Who's Viking?
I want to give them just a moment to get their things. You're welcome. Thank you. Approximately 850 students from across the district recently performed during our annual All-County Music Fest, held at both Ruth Eckerd Hall and Mahaffey Theater. After a brief but very intense rehearsal period, the district's best vocalists and musicians came together for choral, symphonic band, and orchestral concerts. These concerts truly displayed what tremendously dedicated, accomplished, and talented musicians we have right here in our schools. Let's watch and listen to a small portion of these amazing performers.
I think All County is a great opportunity for students to get out of their comfort zone. And for a lot of students, especially at the middle school level, this is one of the first times they've started interacting with students at different schools.
We want to have an opportunity that's local for our best singers to come together and make great music and sing some challenging repertoire with world-class clinicians.
It's always nice to come to an ensemble where everyone has the same goal to, get better as a musician and to make friends.
Wondering if you're a parent of these students and you're wondering, is my kid getting a first-class music education? They are. I'm coming from a variety of different places. I travel a lot all around the country, internationally, and the level of education that your students here are getting is at a very, very high level with caring and dedicated educators who you should be really proud of and support as best as you can.
He promised he'd bring me a little straw hat to set off the blue ribbons and tie up my bonny brown hair. Oh dear, what can the matter be, dear, dear? What can the matter be, oh dear? What can the matter be, Johnny, so long at the fair? Oh dear, what can the matter be, dear, dear? What can the matter be, oh dear? What can the matter be, Johnny, so long at the fair? Oh dear, Johnny, so long at the fair. Oh dear, Johnny, so long at the fair.
I personally believe every single student should have to take music. What it does for students, not just academically, but the entire person. We are teaching souls and how to be decent human beings, and I think that it's so important for every single child to have that opportunity and learn how to express themselves through music and also increase their emotional intelligence through the gift of music.
Being a member of the All County, it's a great learning experience. We get to experience a new director, get to hear a different perspective from the whole concert band side of things, and we also get to be surrounded by musicians that we don't normally get to be around.
We have some absolutely wonderful talent throughout our district. And speaking of talent, we have our introduction of professional and community organization representatives by Lisa M. Wolf.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego and staff, it is my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of community and professional organizations. Representing the Pinellas Educational Support Professionals Association, Nellie Hinez. With the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, Mike Gandolfo. Representing the Pinellas Arts for a Complete Education Coalition, Karen Santangelo. And today we'll have a presentation from the Student Rights and Responsibilities Committee. Please welcome from Northeast High School, Jacob Buffet, Liz Early, and Angelina Kyer-Lieber. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. Better. My name is Jacob Buffet, and I am a junior attending Northeast High School. I'm currently enrolled in the Academy of Information Technology, and I plan to attend the Massachusetts Institute of Technology for cybersecurity. I'm co-founder and president of our school's robotics team, and I have just filed my company with the state of Florida. It's youth empowerment. It's called Luctusfin LLC. Next year, I'll be transferring to SBC Clearwater for early admission, and there I'll be studying to get my AA degree by the time I get out of senior year. I'm grateful for my time at Northeast because of all the opportunities they've given me to grow these past 3 years, and they've been absolutely amazing. It's my pleasure to share with you some of the great academic achievements at Northeast that helped me vision my 100% student success. Our school earned a school grade of a B for the second year in a row. We increased our overall proficiency scores in English, language arts, and biology, and made learning gains in mathematics. Our college and career acceleration rate increased as our students earned hundreds of industry certifications in Microsoft, Adobe, ServSafe, Automotive, QuickBooks, helping to meet the school's mission of college and career readiness for every student. Our graduation rate increased 92% with the class of 2018, exceeding last year's graduation rate of 91%, the district's graduation rate of 86%, and the state's graduation rate of 86%. The percentage of students attending post-secondary education increased by 11% since 2010, with nearly 58% of Northeast graduates enrolling and attending 4-year, 2-year, or technical colleges. This exceeds the state's average by 5%. Students annually complete more than 10,000 volunteer hours to qualify for Florida's Bright Future Scholarship. 8 varsity teams have qualified for the FHSAA academic recognition, earning a minimal of a 3.0 GPA. Boys cross country, girls cross country, boys golf, volleyball, girls basketball, boys soccer, and girls soccer share this honor so far this year, with spring sports yet to come. And Northeast has earned the Jim and Marie Shipley grant of $5,000 to promote the academic environment and support the school's mission of all students graduating college and career ready.
Hello, my name is Angelina Kyer-Lieber, and I am an 11th grader in Northeast High School's Academy of Finance program. I am currently the assistant head teller in the Achieva Viking branch, where I supervise tellers and maintain a safe and efficient work environment. I am also involved in Pep Club, Gig Crew, Future Business Leaders of America, and Student Government, where I serve as the junior class secretary. Through Northeast, I have taken rigorous and exciting courses that have built my knowledge and problem-solving skills immensely. I have also developed many close friendships with teachers and classmates. This is due entirely to the welcoming and safe environment Northeast High School provides. After my time at Northeast, I plan on going to law school, though I do not know what university I will be attending yet. It is my pleasure to share some of our many points of pride. Northeast is a national demonstration AVID school, placing in the top 1% of the over 5,000 schools that offer AVID nationwide. AVID's system of college readiness prepares students in the academic middle for college and ensures a school-wide college-going culture. The Academy of Finance, or AOF, is one of just 4 programs nationwide to earn Model Academy status 8 years in a row from the National Academy Foundation. AOF has been nominated for the 9th straight year in a row for this award. AOF and Culinary Academies are Pinellas County programs of distinction, the highest possible honor for academies. Students competing in Future Business Leaders of America, Skills USA, National Scholastic Art, and multiple performing arts organizations have won titles through academic competitions. 64 FBLA students have qualified to compete at the state competition. Local businesses annually support Northeast with over 20,000 volunteer hours. This includes partnerships with Achieva Credit Union, AM Skills to expand our work within our Manufacturing Academy, and Raymond James, just to name a few. 5 Northeast athletic scholars have signed this year to continue their playing careers in college next year. Students have earned athletic scholarships to St. John's River State College, Florida State College at Jacksonville, University of North Carolina at Pembroke, Southeastern University, and the Naval Academy. Our boys golf team are district champions. Our boys cross country team are city champions and district champions, and our girls basketball team are district runner-up. Our ladies basketball team has played in the district title 5 of the 6 past years. Thank you.
Hello, I am Liz Early and I'm a senior at Northeast High School. I am a member of the Honors College and involved in multiple extracurricular activities such as the student government in which I serve as president, and National Honor Society where I also serve as president, and Key Club where I am the vice president. As a student of Northeast High School for 4 years now, I have come to love the friendly atmosphere and amiable staff with whom I have created many personal relationships with. After graduation in this coming May, I will be attending the University of Florida to study pre-law. We encourage you to stop by Northeast anytime to see our full-service on-site clinic operated by the Pinellas County Health Department that offers free medical care and social services to students. The fully operational student-run branch of the Achieva Credit Union that operates on campus each day. Our coffee business that is run by our students with disabilities. And if none of the above entices you, then stop into our Academy of Culinary Arts for lunch on each Wednesday as we are open to the public. Our school has spirit, a positive culture, and pride. As Vikings, we build strong ships. Scholarship, relationship, leadership, partnership, citizenship, and sportsmanship are all embedded in what we do. And remember, once a Viking, always a Viking. We thank you for your leadership and support.
That was absolutely fabulous. Thank you. Each one of you are well on your way. I most certainly can tell that. We have their principal here with us on today, and so thank you so very much for coming. Our future looks very bright. It is very bright with the students that we have in front of us. So thank you all. Thank you. So we have a very robust agenda for recognizing things for today. So we will remain up front, ladies and gentlemen, for 1 through 5, and the second half of 5 we'll go down and make sure that we shake the hands of the persons that are here today. We're starting out with our presentations of proclamations recognizing March 4th through 8th. 2019 is National School Breakfast Week. Dr. Grego?
Yes, and thank you, Madam Chair, and to the board members. I do want to say thank you for your patience. We do have, and each one of these is so important, but with March having one board meeting due to spring break, we feel it's imperative that we recognize each and every one of these individuals. So thank you for your patience. The first one is, Ms. Flowers mentioned, is the National School Breakfast Week, and I'd like to call upon Brianna Mahoney, the Assistant Director of Food and Nutrition, to present this proclamation. And hello.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I am here to present National School Breakfast Week, which we started before Breakfast Week. I'm sorry. Okay, I guess we're going to miss my first slide. But National School Breakfast Week starts next week with the theme Start Your Engines with School Breakfast. And we actually started previously in the past month where we worked with 14 of our schools to increase their breakfast participation. We set a goal of 5% and met with the administration to find ways to increase participation and parent awareness of what we offer. So in some of those discussions on the screen on the left, you can see a breakfast cart that was implemented at Curtis Fundamental to increase their participation. And at all of these schools, we also hosted events to mingle with parents and PTA. On the right-hand side is the event at Orange Grove Elementary, where we participated in their first annual dance and met with both parents, PTA, and students to show them menu items and also the nutrition facts so that they could see what our schools provide every day for breakfast. Some other events that we have pictures of to share with you include Brooker Creek, Curlew Creek, and Lakeview Fundamental. And at all of these events, the thing that was most striking was that a lot of our parents and our PTA members did not realize that breakfast was no charge. So that's something that really came about in this conversation with our parents and PTA, that yes, we offer breakfast, yes, it's no charge, and no, it is not the same food you buy in the grocery store. It's healthier for our students, and it always comes with a fresh fruit. So that happened this past month and is still going on now, but next week we will be rolling out Breakfast Week, Start Your Engines, and we have 43 schools participating, so we are extremely proud of that. These schools were provided the banner you see on the left-hand side, the yard signs in the middle, and the stoplight on the far right. The managers will be recording how many meals were served each day of the week so that the students can really see the progress over the course of the week and race to the finish. All of these supplies were purchased through grant funding that we earned, as well as aprons for every staff member to wear in the kitchen. And we also have the racetrack poster that will be hanging in the cafeteria. We provided cars for each number, and the numbers correlate with the days of the week. So there will be a total number at the top, and the cars will race across for how many breakfasts were served each day of the week. The Dairy Council did ask us to tally milk for the whole week, so that at the end of the week we'll see how many milks the students selected, because milk is a food group that many students miss out on. On the bottom, we have race cars. So the students will receive stickers like the one I'm wearing. Each day they come in and have breakfast, and they will be asked to participate in a pit stop where we have activity sheets and coloring books for them to use at breakfast or after school. And when they turn those in to the manager, they will receive one of those cars you see in the bottom right. So that will be their prize for turning them in. Every student that participates will receive a car, and at the end of the week, we'll draw a few of those coloring sheets or activity sheets to determine a winner to earn the prizes on the right-hand side of the screen. So we are very, very excited to put this together, and we couldn't do it alone. We work with our Pinellas School Nutrition Association, and I have also a central office team member here I'd like to recognize in addition. Tammy Ayette put together all of these materials and coordinated everything with our 43 schools. We have our PSNA secretary, Tina Russell, here, and our PSNA president, Sally Nazelski, here. They will also be participating. And special guest not on the list was Rodney. He's also participating, and he's from Seminole Middle. Yay, Mr. Rodney. We aren't stopping here with Breakfast Week, though. We will also be participating in April with the National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day, where we're going to encourage that at breakfast to keep the momentum going. And in May, it's National Egg Month. So we will be celebrating eggs throughout the entire month of May so that we can reach our goal of increasing breakfast participation to 35% this school year and we have a lofty goal of 50% for next school year. So we're going to keep this momentum rolling with Start Your Engines, and we really appreciate all of your support and hope that if you have time, you'll join us for breakfast next week. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
We have a proclamation that will be read by School Board Member Joanne Latino. Do we have a motion with a second for the proclamation?
Motion. Second.
Ms. Latino?
Proclamation, National School Breakfast Week. Whereas today's children are tomorrow's leaders, they amaze us with their intelligence and inspire us with their creativity and optimism. And whereas studies have shown that meals provided at school not only contribute to the national nutritional needs of students, but also significantly increase and enhance their ability to learn. And whereas the school breakfast program has served our nation admirably since it was permanently established in 1975 and is dedicated to the health and well-being of our nation's children. And whereas there is evidence of continued need for nutrition education and awareness of the value of school nutrition programs. Now, therefore, we, the School Board of Pinellas County, proclaim that the week of March 4th through 8th, 2019, be recognized as National School Breakfast Week and encourage all residents to become aware and concerned about their children's and their own nutrition habits in hope of achieving a more healthful citizenry for today and the future.
We have a motion with a second for that proclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Ms. Latino, did you have something else you wanted to, your light is pushed, or?
Oh.
Okay. All right. Moving right along to a presentation of proclamation designating Newspaper and Education Week. Dr. Greco.
Yes, Madam Chair, partnerships is so important to our school district, and this too is extremely important to us, and that's our partnership with the Tampa Bay Times Newspaper and Education Program with them and our school district. So I'd like to call upon Mr. Hendricks to discuss this partnership. Good to see you.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Grego and staff. It's my pleasure to be here this evening to help proclaim March 4th through the 8th as Newspaper and Education Week. Internationally, the first full school week in March is known as Newspaper and Education Week. We're proud to have our partners from the Tampa Bay Times here tonight who help us use the newspaper as a living textbook to use as informational text at no cost to schools, teachers, and students. The Tampa Bay Times provides these to our schools on a daily basis with sometimes some inserts that go beyond just the regular newspaper. They also include professional learning that helps connect the newspaper to standards-based instruction and also brings contemporary resources and real-world experiences. I'd like to introduce Jody Pushkin, the Newspaper and Education Manager from the Tampa Bay Times, who's going to share a few facts and figures prior to the proclamation.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
We are proud and honored to be partnered with the Pinellas County Schools. During this school year, we currently provide 14,000 print copies of the newspaper and more than 8,500 electronic licenses. So by the end of the school year, we'll have 4 million copies of the newspaper provided to schools in Pinellas County free of charge. We'd like to thank you for your partnership, and we appreciate your proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion with a second for the reading of the proclamation? Thank you. And we have Dr. Nicole Carr, who will read the proclamation for us.
There we go. Whereas research tells us that the best way to help children discover the joy of reading and become lifelong readers is to involve them early and often. And whereas helping a child learn and love to read is the ultimate goal to improve students' chances for success in school and beyond, and whereas research shows that students who learn using the newspaper as an educational resource are more likely to become lifelong readers and informed and engaged citizens. And whereas Newspaper and Education is an international program that encourages the use of the daily newspaper as a living textbook for students from primary through adult education levels. And whereas, for more than 40 years, the Tampa Bay Times Newspaper and Education program has served educators, students, and families by providing classroom newspapers, companion materials, and instructional support. And whereas Newspaper and Education Week is commemorated and celebrated annually during the first full school week in March. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pinellas County School Board is pleased to commemorate Newspaper and Education Week 2019 and encourage students to read the newspaper daily in school and at home to enhance and enrich their lives. Thank you. Thank you.
We have a motion with the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you so very much, and thank you for coming and sharing with us on today. We have our presentation for designating March as Youth Art Month. Dr. Greco.
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, I'd like to call upon Sue Castleman to recognize not only March as a Youth Art Month, but also, if I could add a word of thanks to not only you, Sue, for your leadership as you're recognized nationally, but also all of our arts educators throughout the district. They do a phenomenal job under your leadership. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Grego. Madam Chair, members of the school board, Dr. Grego, and staff, I'm excited to share the wonderful events during March from the Visual Arts Office. Your Art, Your Story is the national 2019 theme for Youth Art Month. The arts provide opportunities for students to express themselves, tell their story, and be valued for their uniqueness. I had feelings of insecurity about my art and not thinking it was good enough, but after being recognized for my art at the awards, I knew my art was good enough and I could do something special, stated Christopher Velez after he received a prestigious Scholastic Gold Medal. Art provides students ways to solve visual problems through skillful manipulation of art mediums. Art provides a way to express what words cannot say and share a student's personal story through their artwork. Pinellas County Schools supports and promotes March's Youth Art Month during the month of March at the following exhibitions. Clearwater Arts Alliance K-12 March's Youth Art Month exhibition is on display at the Clearwater Main Library. The reception and award ceremony are Sunday, March 3rd. 130 students from 47 elementaries and 17 middle schools will be recognized. The 3+ Dimension K-12 exhibition of ceramic, sculpture, and movies is on display at Gibbs High School Grand Theater Lobby and Grand Theater. The reception is Tuesday, March 5th. 310 students from 94 schools will be recognized. The Word and Image Elementary Schools N through W art exhibition is on display at the Morian Arts Center. Students created a work of art and a written statement based on the theme If. The reception and awards ceremony are Saturday, March 23rd. 75 students and 25 schools will be recognized. And then the Taking Shape exhibition for middle school students is on display at the Dunedin Fine Arts Center. The reception and awards ceremony are Sunday, March 24th. 71 middle school students and 20 schools will be recognized. During the month of March, 456 students will be celebrated and recognized for their art and their story. Thank you so much for your support of the visual arts in Pinellas County Schools.
Thank you. And we do have a proclamation. May we have a motion with a second for the reading of the proclamation? Is there a second?
Second.
And we have School Board Member Lisa Kane to read the proclamation for us.
Youth Art Month, Your Art, Your Story. Whereas the study of art leads to a fuller, more meaningful life, and whereas art education provides substantial educational benefits to all elementary, middle, and high school students, and whereas art education develops students' creative potential, improves problem-solving and critical thinking skills, and brings to life what students learn in other subjects. Whereas art education teaches sensitivity to beauty, order, and other expressive qualities, and gives students a deeper understanding of multicultural values and beliefs. Whereas art education advances student mastery in art production, art criticism, and aesthetics. And whereas our national leaders have acknowledged the necessity of including arts experiences in all students' education, and whereas the residents of Pinellas County have joined Pinellas County Schools in supporting the youth in our community in their intellectual development through artistic endeavors and offering support to our committed art teachers. Now therefore we, the school board of Pinellas County, do hereby proclaim March 2019 as Youth Art Month. Your art, your story.
Thank you. We have a motion with a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Do we have any opposed? Thank you so very much. And we have a presentation of a proclamation designating March as Music in Our Schools Month. Dr. Grego.
It is, and it was a wonderful way to start our board agenda item, and that is with the music video. So we, as board members know, we have two individuals that are recognized nationally, and it gives me great pleasure to talk a little bit about both Sue Castleman and also Jeannie Reynolds, who are nationally recognized for their leadership in their respective areas. So not only are we bringing and thanking teachers, but also the leadership in our district. And I believe that these individuals, along with our teachers, is why Pinellas County is recognized as leaders both in music and arts. So, Ms. Reynolds?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. It's always a pleasure to be here in March to celebrate Music in Our Schools Month, and it really is a celebration because what happens every day is extraordinary in Pinellas County. And I would like to give a nod to the school board, who has steadfastly supported music and arts education for years, and our community that does as well. You got to hear from students live and on tape, so there's not much more I can say. When coming from the students, it really does tell you what music and arts education means to them. All music, all people. That's what it's about, and that's what the theme is this year. And in a short period of time, I thought perhaps we would just think about what we saw today with Bridget Emmenheiser in Northeast High School. And I got to start my morning listening to another one of her choruses at our music performance assessments. And they take place in March. And what a lucky person I am to hear glorious music all day, to hear what quality music educators can do with students. And the story about Bridget Emmenheiser is wonderful because it's a story also of our support of our referendum, because we were able to bring back the Northeast Choral Program due to those funds. And then it's the wonderful working of staff in our HR department and Ms. Texel when Mr. Hernandez and I called her in February and we knew we had an opening and said, we need this great teacher. And everybody came together. It's a team effort. So Music in Our Schools months, we are often in ensemble. And I just want to thank you for the ensemble that we bring together to make this happen for kids every year. So, you know, sometimes words are not enough, and that's why we have music. So I would love to invite you to hear any of the remaining music performance assessments going on in March. There are bands, there are orchestras. I think you have the dates. And there's one remaining all-county, March 23rd, with those wonderful elementary children. And as I always say, there's something magical about those young voices. So you are most welcome to attend. And again, thank you to an entire community and a board and a staff that makes it happen. Great things happen in public schools, and it's because of the teamwork. Thank you so much, and we're delighted to celebrate Music in Our Schools Month.
We may have to use that as a hashtag, great things happen in public schools. I like that. So I'm going to give you credit, but I'm using it. We have a proclamation that's going to be read by none other than School Board Member Carol Cook. Do we have a motion with a second for the proclamation?
Motion that we adopt the proclamation for Music in Our Schools Month.
I second.
And there's a second. Ms. Carol.
All righty. Pinellas County School Board proclamation for Music in Our School Month.
I like that.
Whereas the study of music contributes to young people's development through heightened skills in listening, reading, self-expression, and creativity. And whereas music and education in our schools includes a broad range of types of music and musical experiences. And whereas music and the other arts significantly enhance the morale and the quality of the school's environment. And whereas it is the stated object of the public schools to prepare children for a productive role in our society. And whereas the National Association for Music Education has designated March as our Music in Our Schools Month. Focuses on the theme, All Music, All People. Now therefore, we, the School Board of Pinellas County, do hereby proclaim March 2019 as Music in Our Schools Month and endorse this observance as an opportunity to support the purposes and practices of music education and encourages teachers, parents, students, and all citizens to participate.
Thank you. We have a motion with a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so very much. Fabulous job. We will move on to our recognitions. For number 5, we will remain up here through the video. After the video, then we'll go down and stay for the remainder of the recognitions. Dr. Grego?
Yes, Madam Chair, this recognition is for the Power for Students Grant Awards for teachers from Pinellas Educational Foundation and our partners at Duke Energy Foundation. I'd like to call upon Ms. Lori Matway, the Associate Superintendent for Student and Community Support Services.
Thank you, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. It is my pleasure to be up here to recognize Duke Energy for multiple of things, but I'm going to let Mr. Baker go into the details of that. I want to tell you that they have been such a strong partner with our district for so many years. Just this year, we recognized them for the $212,000 that they donated for our STEM academies. That total is close to $1 million. So we are so thankful for everything that they do for us. They are also partnered with Tyrone Middle School as their executive pass partner, and they have been there for many years. But today, we're here to recognize them for their participation and their support of the Pinellas Education Foundation's teacher grants. And these grants for this year totaled up to $55,000. So it is my pleasure to bring Jeff Baker up here at this time to tell you more details about that. Jeff is the Government and Community Relations Manager at Duke Energy. Jeff?
Good evening, Chairman Flowers, school board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. It certainly is our pleasure to be here, and we are equally as grateful to the partnership that we have with Pinellas County Schools and the Pinellas Ed Foundation. As Ms. Matway mentioned, Duke Energy and the Duke Energy Foundation are major investors in K-12 public education. Last year, in the state of Florida, we gave $1.6 million, and the single largest grant was that $212,000 that we did with Pinellas Education, Pinellas School Board. So I'm very, very pleased with that. Some of the other things that we're going to be talking very quickly about is the Power for Students, but also we are working with our partners at Pinellas Ed Foundation on something called the Career Awareness Seminars. And it's the first time the Pinellas Ed Foundation is doing that, and I encourage you to learn more about that. It's only, we've been doing it now for 8 weeks, and it has been nothing short of phenomenal. The Power for Student grants that we're here to talk about tonight, what that grant does is it allows schools, individual teachers to apply for grants for extracurricular activities. It could be in the areas of arts, sports, health, student recognition, and it was mentioned that we are the executive pass partner at Tyrone Middle School, and at Tyrone Middle, they're actually even doing gardening. So it's one of those things where they're great programs, and I'm going to have Margaret Spontac, who is with our foundation, give you some details on some of the individual grants that was made, and we do have some of the teachers here to share in the photo that we'll do afterwards. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. And without saying that we could not have done this without the Pinellas Foundation. The Pinellas Education Foundation helped select the grants for us. And as Jeff mentioned, the first one was Tyrone Middle School. Now I'm going to introduce really the stars of these grants. These grants, when I received them, just really touched me emotionally at the level of creativity and the commitment of the teachers and what went into these. So as I mention your name and your school, if you'd come down and stand in the front and remain standing until we get all 10 teachers, that would be great. The first one is from Ridgecrest Elementary, Ann Salazar, who created the Ridgecrest Gymnastics Club. Come on down, Ann. The next school is a group of schools is Pinellas County Schools. Betsy Roller championed the Special Olympics Unified Champions Program, which I was able to attend and go bowling. So if Betsy is here, come on down. And then Clara Bagley at Melrose Elementary School developed a special mindfulness and meditation program. Clara? And at Azalea Elementary, Latoya Rushing and the staff there created positive behavioral interventions and support. Okay. And one that Donna and I got up very early to see is at Dixie Hollins High School. Lucille Benjamin helped put together the College Dream Tour, where high school students went to 4 colleges. Lucille. And at Sanderlin, PK through 8, Maggie Elizondo put together We Are All Hands-On Creative Authors and Illustrators, and I want to show you this beautiful book that the students put together. And the mastermind at Ponce de Leon Elementary School, Mandy Larkin, was the mastermind behind Behavior and Discipline, the committee, and the Positive Energy. They had a school where students could use their behavior, their credits. It's Mandy here. Thank you. And at Meadowlawn Middle School, Nicholas Amheiser used big white top tabletops to increase collaboration, and that is so important to learning. Both the facilities can make a difference. And then at Pinellas, I think that Meadowlark is not here today. At Pinellas Park High School, Rob Romaine and Dale Koenig did a project search and rescue through Thermal USA, showing students way they can put this to hands-on use in their future careers. I want everybody to give everybody, there are a few teachers that were not here able to be here, but I'd ask the school board members, I think, to come down and recognize these teachers and shake their hands. And thank you so much. I know from being a daughter of 2 teachers, it's teachers that make it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Duke Energy. Thank you so much for your generosity. Jeff, thank you so much. Thank you. Board members, our next presentation, if you can remain standing down on the floor, is a recognition of the 2018-19 Outstanding School Volunteers, and to make the presentation, I'd like to call upon Dr. Valerie Brim, Director of Office of Strategic Partnerships. Dr. Brim.
Okay, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Greco and staff, it is always a pleasure to honor these who dedicate their time to serve others. Volunteerism is a strategic tool to support school staff and students. There are over 35,000 active volunteers in our district, and this year we have over 35,000 students who are, 3,500 students who are mentored each week by our volunteers. The Office of Strategic Partnership is proud to announce the outstanding school volunteer winners who have given their time and dedication to serve our students and staff. They will also be awarded at a breakfast in April at the Feather Sound Country Club. So it is my honor and pleasure to please announce our winners in the following areas by the categories of youth, adult, and senior. For area 1, if I can call, I call your name, please walk up and get your award and shake the board members' hands. Our youth for area 1 is Annabelle Jajuga, Booker Creek Elementary School. The adult for area 1 is Rebecca Ray, Cypress Woods Elementary. The senior, who's not here, is Dorothy Marnie Russell from Countryside High School. From area 2, the youth is Allison Anastasia CO from Southern Oak Elementary. I apologize for that. That was a mouthful. The adult, Kristen Brillant at Cross Bayou Elementary. And Edward Hoke from Osceola High School. Area 3, our youth is Samantha Piavano from Bowdert Elementary.
Thank you very much.
The adult is Richard Landon from Seminole Middle School. And our senior is David Gibson Warren from Bay Point Middle School. For area 4, we have Carol Lynn Morris from Rollins Elementary. Stephanie Koch from Shore Acres Elementary. Our senior is Linda Frank from Lellman Avenue Elementary. And for workforce development, our senior is Paul DeSoto. Thank you very much again, and congratulations.
Congratulations to all of our volunteers. We could not operate this school district as well as we do without you as volunteers. Board members, our next presentation is for the semifinalists and finalists for the 2017-18 Support Employee of the Year recognition program, I'd like to call upon Mr. Lou Soretta, Director of Professional Development. Mr. Soretta.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. It's my honor this evening to introduce 15 of our finest support staff members that we announced at the Support Employee of the Year luncheon that was held at Feather Sound Country Club in January, which was sponsored by Achieva Credit Union. When I call their names, we ask if they could please come forward and when with their principal and or supervisor, and then please remain up here. Damaris Lee would love to take their picture as a whole group. Representing classroom support, we have Elizabeth Cadmus, physical education teaching assistant at Lynch Elementary, accompanied by her principal, Cynthia Kidd. Pamela Evans, family and community liaison at Sandy Lane Elementary, with her principal, Christina Bowman. And she wasn't here, but Christina's here representing her. Thank you. The clerical category, Cindy Britton, front office clerk at Bel Air Elementary, with her principal, Tabitha Griffin. Cassandra Holt, secretary bookkeeper at James Sanderlin K-8 School, along with her principal, Carrie Armstrong. For the food service category, we have Nancy Bowder, food service manager at Lellman Avenue Elementary, principal Chris Salt. Also for food service, Miriam Ayala, food service assistant at Richard Sanders School. Representing maintenance, safety, health, and transportation, Andrea Rosario, school nurse at McMullen Booth Elementary. And we have Shakita Smith, transportation field operator, and she wasn't able to be here this evening, but we definitely want to recognize her as well. For the category for plant operations, we have Petko Gavrilovic, night foreman at Dixie Hollins High School, with his principal, Rob Florio. Jerry Workman, head plant operator, Pinellas Technical College, and with him we have the executive director, Mark Hunt. Miss Sherry wasn't able to join us today. Now we have the category finalists, who also semifinalists, Classroom Support Employee of the Year. Robin Craddock, ESE, paraprofessional at Calvin Hunsinger, with her principal, Doug Kymick. Clerical Support Employee of the Year, Casey Ivory, office clerk at Countryside High School, with her principal, Gary Sklareth. Food Services Support Employee of the Year, Rodney Heat, Food Service Manager at Seminole Middle School, with his principal, Mike Moss. Maintenance, Safety, Health, Transportation Support Employee of the Year, Anthony Langhorn from Transportation, and we have T. Mark Hagman along with him as well. And for our category Plan Operation Support Employee of the Year, Steve Norris, Head Plan Operator, Curlew Creek, with his principal, Kathy Brickley. And now, for 2018-19 Pinellas County's overall Support Employee of the Year. He has worked in our district for 19 years. He is currently a field operations supervisor for our transportation department. One of his most important roles is to create positive relationships with parents, students, and employees. He does this through his supervision and training of customer service skills of his representatives, especially in the transportation call center. He has gone above and beyond by mentoring students, colleagues. He's also positively impacted other staff in our district by being a district trainer in several areas and a keynote speaker for many of our events. We have nominated our Support Employee of the Year at the state level for Florida School-Related Employees of the Year. And let me introduce Mr. Anthony Tony Langhorn. Thank you.
I need you to come in a little more. I need you to come in a little more. Yeah. Okay, go down.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our finalists. Board members, our last and final presentation for this evening is the Finalist and Teacher of the Year Recognition Program presented by Ms. Paula Texel, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resource Services.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. I am honored to be here to present to you this evening the finalists and our winner for Pinellas County Schools Teacher of the Year. I first want to thank our professional development department under the leadership of Lou Soretta for all of their work they did in this. It really is almost a year-long event to organize, so we just wanted to say thank you to that whole department and to Mr. Soretta as well. And I already know that they're planning next year's event. And they're already starting to go for that. So we look forward to honoring even more teachers next year. Our teachers, all of our teachers of the year for the schools were honored at our Evening of Excellence at the end of January. It was a wonderful event, and we look to, as I said, to even grow that even more next year. So I am very honored to present our finalists to you tonight, along with their principal. Our first one is Andrea Anderson, a very exceptionality specialist at St. Pete High School, and I don't believe Andrea was able to make it. There were a lot of people in here, so, but we wanted to congratulate her. Our next is Karen Bellino, science teacher at Seminole Middle, along with her principal, Mike Moss. Michelle Hajian, our third grade teacher from High Point Elementary, with her principal, Melody Mendoza. Lauren Iovino, science teacher at Boca Ciega High School, with her principal, Mike Vigu. Angela Johnson Drummond. She's a 5th grade teacher at McMullen Booth Elementary School, and she was unable to attend, but wanted to recognize her as well. Autumn Lunan, reading teacher at Safety Harbor Middle School, and her principal is not able to attend tonight, but congratulations. Emily Maker, 1st grade teacher at North Shore Elementary, along with her principal, Cooper Dawson. Candace Reed, 2nd grade teacher at Azalea Elementary School, with her principal, Michael Redman. And who was our fan favorite, I believe. Yes. Wendy Stryker, 4th grade teacher at Safety Harbor Elementary School, with her principal, Cecilia Palmer. And our 2018-19 Pinellas County Schools Teacher of the Year is Nicole Kangat, 5th grade teacher at Plum Elementary, along with her principal, Holly Del Duca. Would you like to say something? Come on. So I did want to just take a moment and just let you know that Nicole has already submitted her application for our State Teacher of the Year, and we will be anxiously awaiting to hear if she has been named a finalist for that award, and we typically hear that towards the middle of the summer. But again, I wanted to say congratulations to not only these top 10 finalists, but also to all of our teachers in Pinellas County and all of the teachers who recognized at their schools this year. And we want to give just a moment for Nicole just to address you with a few words.
All right, well, hello, everybody. I am just so excited to be here and to be part of this, and it's truly an honor, not just to be able to represent this amazing profession, but also Pinellas County. We get to step into our purpose as educators every single day and make a difference every single day, and it's really wonderful to be able to celebrate that with all of you tonight. So thank you so much for the honor, and I am so inspired by everybody here tonight, and again, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you, thank you. That concludes our presentations. Thank you, and congratulations to all of our teachers. You know how to clear a room. But thank you, board members, for recognizing all those employees.
Those were all very worthwhile. Well, all the recognitions are, but especially today, it was very, very worthwhile for us to support and recognize our teachers, so we're excited about that. Moving on to public comments on agenda items.
Board members and Dr. Grego, we have one speaker this evening for specific agenda items. Mark Clutho will speak to consent number 8 and non-consent number 2.
Mark Clutho, Largo. Number 8, request approval for continuing contracts for construction managers at risk. Why would you be doing that? Why would you be doing that? They're at risk? Is this the taxpayers' money at risk? Strategic direction, effective and efficient use of resources? How does that follow? Oh, somebody should explain that. Yeah. Fast and loose, I would say. Really. Malfeasance. And then setting a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policy 9800. Charter schools. You know what this is, don't you? A scam. This isn't what public schools are supposed to be. It's a rip-off, these charter schools. Yeah. One big scam. Yeah, it makes me want to puke hearing about these scams with these charter schools. I mean, you're bad enough. But then you hear about these scam artists trying to bilk the taxpayers. It's a doggone shame. Oh boy. Yeah. Well, that backslabbing and glad handing sure was fun.
Did you want to push your light?
Yep. Oh, I hit the wrong one.
Do we have any other speakers? School Board Member Carol Cook.
Yeah, I want to address the comment, let me get to the actual piece with the at-risk, anyway, I was going to read it to you. I think the title is a little misleading. It's actually a list of people that go through a process, and it's a number of contractors that we can go to for any project that's under, I believe, $2 million.
$2 million. Mm-hmm.
And so they're on they can be on a rotating basis or based on, whatever their expertise is, but I think the title is deceiving, but it is definitely those that have gone through the process. They have been selected, and now we're being asked to approve them or not tonight. So I just wanted to clarify that because it does sound a little strange.
Thank you, School Board Member Carol Cook. We,
Doctor's fine. Doctor's fine. Since Mrs. Cook raised that, I just wanted to also clarify that the speaker had it backwards. We are not at risk of loss during those construction projects. The construction manager is the one who bears the risk if the costs overrun the guaranteed maximum price.
Exactly. In other words, we paid whatever we've agreed to, no more. Certainly less, but no more. Right. Thank you both for your clarification on that. It's always good for the public to get the right information, so thank you. Do we have any unfinished business? No unfinished business. We're going to move to the consent agenda item. Dr. Nicole Carr pulled specific items. What I would like to do first is just approve those items that you have not pulled. So we'll be, the motion I'm going to be asking for will be for the consent agenda minus item number 12 that Dr. Carr has pulled. We'll vote for that, and then we'll take up Dr. Carr's item separate. So, okay. So do we have a motion with a second for all the consent agenda with the omission of item 12? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Dr. Carr?
There we go. My concerns are around the item within, two items within 12. I'm starting with page 118 through 128, and then page 149 through 155. The first being the Cambrio contract. It's a $240,000 to provide professional development to curriculum training, and leadership training, and that the monies from this, or to pay for this, come from our state Unified School Improvement Grant. It's not a categorical item, and it does not require we contract with an outside agency. It will cost $30,000 for each of these 8 schools, which is nearly $250,000. And that they'll be providing workshops for students, parent workshops, and leadership, training for our leadership and aspiring leaders. So while I understand that these schools need additional layers of support, but I feel like this is very much the same sort of support we've been providing for numerous years to these schools, where we have worked to implement some of these same strategies, and we have continued to partner with outside agencies without specifically having knowledge of their effectiveness. The second one, for the prime source, is that I understand we have a number of teachers who are early in their career and that they need support, and I understand there are a disproportionate number of early career or first and second year teachers in some of these high need schools. This would allocate pay $157,500,000 to provide professional development to teachers at 8 schools at a cost of $2,500 a day for, let's say if that were an 8-hour day, that's $300 an hour. For 6 schools, we'll have a consultant work with their teachers on how to utilize Teach Like a Champion. And in this, Teach Like a Champion has been around for a number of years. It, like other classroom management techniques and styles, has availability in a number of ways. So I'm not sure how this would be something that has been shown to be effective. So I don't understand why we contracting with a consultant to provide this type of training, while the individual may be incredibly dynamic and may have an impact, we know that these sort of quick fix professional developments are not sustainable. When we hire a consultant to come in for a week or two, or in some cases, as this is, one day at one school, it doesn't last. And the folks we know, when there's on-site embedded professional development, that's what works. So this is $157,000. I mean, we could hire 2 behavior coaches or have employees stipend or allocated. So these are concerns I have when we are utilizing not categorical funds, not state mandated to be spent in a certain way. And these 2 items are going to require us to use nearly $500,000 of our state Unified School Improvement Grant, and we're going to give it to private companies without it being mandated so that we had to give it to a private company. And I feel that this needs more time to be looked at. I recognize it was voted on prior to me being elected as a part of this grant. Grants can be amended. There are ways to work with grants. So I just don't feel like taking a step towards more privatization, especially burdening our teachers who specifically asked us to have less of their planning taken from them. And these are at our most fragile schools a lot of the same strategies year over year without addressing some of the more critical issues of it. So these are my concerns. I don't think it's fiscally responsible for us to spend money in this way, and I don't think it's in best interest of retaining our teachers, and I don't think it's what best will serve our students in these fragile schools.
Dr. Grego, would you like to have Mr. Hendrick, Kevin Hendrick, or
Mary Conage
or yourself, or
Mary
whomever
Conage
to
is director of the grants, and maybe Mr. Hendrick. But let me also, as they're coming up, is that to say that these are competitive grants that the state invited our district to apply. Principals, teachers, assistant principals, all are gathering and had gathered last summer to put these proposals together. And I'll let Dr. Conage maybe go over the timeline. But these are things that are more grassroots efforts in terms of what they believe will increase the productivity, the effectiveness of their school. I don't know the exact, I don't want to overstate it, but the majority of this training is done either after school, or I believe some of it is for the summertime, in that they have planned this. So I just want the board to understand that this isn't something that we just go in and come out and say, this is the magical company. The other aspect of the UNISIG grant as being as competitive as it is, the state has vetted this for the last 6 months, as we know, and many districts didn't receive it. And what they're looking for, even though we might say that it's not a requirement, they are looking to see how is that district, how is the district on the DA schools, and these are DNF schools or close to it, how are they reaching out to outside experts and bringing them into the district to, as Dr. Carr said, and I totally agree with, to build the capacity and of the district staff, not only the leadership, but also of the teachers. There's no silver bullet in this issue. There's no quick fix in these issues. I just want the board to understand that there's a little bit more longevity and vetting in these things in terms of putting them in a proposal and obtaining the UNISIG funding. So Dr. Conage?
So one of the challenges when we have the most vulnerable schools is they often do receive multiple funding sources. And so district leadership comes together to try to be most strategic so that when they have like a base level of Title I, for example, and they have professional development and parent involvement as requirements of that grant, when you have these other supplemental funding sources, trying to layer them in an intentional way without duplicating efforts is why sometimes these new vendors that are perceived, we're already doing that, that's why they're identified. And with their potential to take the work that's already being done to a deeper level or to extend it or enhance it or intensify it. The concerns we also see when we're doing the planning. So as Dr. Grego said, and I think Mr. Hendrick is standing behind me, he can confirm, to do it outside of the regular school day rather than taking more of teachers' planning time. But I think the biggest point is we are aware of what might look awkward and a duplication of efforts, and are very intentional to avoid that by not picking things that we're already familiar with.
Thanks, Dr. Conage. Board members, the only thing I think I can add related to your concern, Dr. Carr, I too am concerned about teachers planning and when does this occur. These in particular are designed for the summertime. So after summer bridge hours, so teachers can still work summer bridge, and then also in the weeks that there is not summer bridge. There is a Leadership Institute for Administrators that is also after summer bridge so that those events can occur. Some of the trainings not in here, but in others in Transformation Zone have been on Saturdays. They're all optional, and we pay teachers to attend. Likewise, they'll be paid to attend in the summertime after summer bridge, should they choose to, or before. One of the things that we do to recruit teachers to the Transformation Zone is to offer supports like CHAMPS training and like Embrace Pinellas and things like that, that they know that they're going to get above and beyond. The other piece that's important is these are time-based grants that also expire. I agree with you that embedded coaching is the best way. The only issue with embedded coaching is typically they take planning time to work with. So every one of these schools has an embedded literacy coach, has an embedded math coach, has a science coach, has a science lab coach, has an MTSS coach. So buying more people at this point in the grant, particularly when we receive this into the school year, who are only going to be there till the end of the school year, is not a good situation. We try to use the dollars to pay teachers to attend training after school hours on Saturdays. In our Saturday Standards academies are good examples of things that teachers have liked. So that's the gist behind the whole piece. There are plenty of personnel when it comes to embedded coaching there. I don't think hiring more that would expire at the end of the school year is an answer, particularly because it does take plenty of time.
Mr. Dudley?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You know, as a board, we have the fiduciary responsibility to question money and just being spent and allocated and all. I appreciate the timelines, and that makes sense, doing it in the summer and all. My question is, are we getting the bang for the buck that we are asking for? I mean, it is a grant, so that means we have to renew it every year? Or is this a one-time shot? How, most grants typically, I'm not a big fan of them, you know, because the next year, if it's something we're going to continue, next year we're going to apply for it. If you don't get it, then you're stuck. So
This particular grant that's funding, that would fund these contracts is based on the school's grade. So if a school earned a letter grade of D or F, that made the school eligible. Ideally, those schools don't get a D or F, they wouldn't have that grant. So when I was talking about the layering,
right,
just because they don't get this grant, there are other funding sources where we're giving the resources like professional development and additional personnel and instructional support, extended day. So if you think of it that if they don't get this grant again, the schools are still going to have their Title I basic money to do some of the things that they need, if that helps.
So, assuming, it'd be great if all schools in our district got C or better, this would go away.
Right.
Is that correct? I mean,
That is
there would be
correct.
no need for it.
And that is why the emphasis on training, because one of the things we've learned in our transformation zone is increasing the salary for teachers in and itself is not enough. I consult with some of my colleagues around the area and say that the teachers continue to say we also need support. It's also about the conditions. It's about the support. And as Mr. Henrik mentioned about the Saturday academies, those academies in terms of the teaching, I've gone to some of them. Over 200 teachers are showing up. Mr. Henrik has been to them also, where teachers are really thirsty and they want that. And they don't want to be taken out of either their planning or their classroom. They want to be with their students. So we're trying to schedule these types of events outside of the classroom and really listening and formulating these plans with the teachers who have chosen to be at some of our more struggling schools. This is the formula for success. It's not just adding to their salaries. I'm not suggesting that's not a good strategy, but in and itself, without these types of supports, is not it. The other part that I think is so critical for us to continue to process down the road is to involve the teachers and the site leadership to, as we have, to determine what is it that you need, you feel like. As you can see from this, not all schools are doing the same exact thing. They're choosing at the school level. We talk about principal autonomy. They're selecting these types of things. They're not all, it's not a cookie cut approach, nor should we ever require people to do these types of cookie cutter message or types of strategies. So this is coming from the grassroots, and this is coming from our teachers, our administrators. We've, yes, through Dr. Condish's office, and she does a terrific job, put together, and I believe we actually earned and competed against these. A lot of school districts receive 0 UNICEF grants, even though their schools qualified for this. So if the State Department of Education wasn't seeing what they needed to see in terms of professional development, expertise, they too vetted a lot of these. I don't want to get particular about the people coming in, but they too vetted them. And if they don't have a proven track record in terms of schools, whether in our state or across this country, then they weren't going to support it. I could say to you that as I'm watching the professional development and attending some of these, that I'm seeing tremendous growth in our DA schools. And even though we can't predict, I see the growth through our MAP assessments and our quarterly assessments that students are learning because the teacher training and the support that the teachers are getting. Do we need to balance that and to make sure that we're not overburdened? Yes, obviously. We really, really do, because in a lot of our DA and across the state, we hear it time and time again. Everybody comes at these schools to try to help. Everyone can be a helper. But if we don't coordinate this effort through our teaching and learning, through the area superintendents, through our principals and what they can handle, and sometimes as we're traveling down that road and we think it's amount, we have to adjust. Even as we're going down, say it's too much, slow it down, it's too much in the summer, not during the school year. This is difficult work, but I can say to you that as a superintendent, I'm seeing the tremendous progress in our schools. Do we have it down perfect? No. But we have to continue to learn from one another as we share with our districts. Dr. Corbett?
Yeah, I just want to make one point. Mr. Dudley, you asked about are we getting the bang for the buck. Both of these programs are programs that Ms. Reed has used at Melrose Elementary the last 2 years, and she has found them to be very successful there. And so that's why she put them on the list of possibilities that the teachers and the principals at each school could choose from based on her experience using them at Melrose.
Right.
Nobody forced them.
School Board Member Cook, and then School Board Member Carol Carr, and then School Board Member Lentino.
Okay, Dr. Grego and Dr. Corbett both kind of touched on some of the points that I was going to make, but this is not the first time we have done this. This is an additional. We've already done this in the district. Could you give us some input as to the effectiveness? You know, the thing that I like about it is that each school gets to say, these are the needs that we have, and this is what we want. But I'll go back to it. Can you just give us some feedback on the ones that have already had it and the impact there?
Yes, Melrose Elementary was one, for example, that had it. The State Department of Education expects us at the end of each year to do a needs assessment and to report on results and outcomes.
Right.
So Mr. Hendrick and I were just talking about 2 of the schools that got Schools of Hope, for example, exited DA status. So there is evidence that when things are done in a cohesive and intentional, well-planned manner, schools are exiting and improving their grades, improving their status as it relates to differentiated accountability.
Right.
It is the collaboration and it's the intentional planning and the vetting that make the difference.
Yeah. And we were doing a lot of things before that weren't giving us the same results. Is that correct? As large a gain as this is?
Yes, you know, not to diminish the work of teachers. Teacher quality is the most important factor in improving, right? So all of these efforts are built around teacher quality. Yes, there's some parent involvement things, and then obviously school leadership is a second factor for these. Both of these are investing in teachers and in leaders. The Schools of Hope one, and this is kind of rewinding the clock a little bit, but if you remember, we have, and we present to you annually in August, how our schools have done in Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. We saw great movement out of 3 and 4 last year for the schools, some of which were UNISIG, that had Schools of Hope or had all the supports that we provide. Most of the schools on the UNISIG this year are not ones that were Tier 2 or Tier 3 schools last year. They were Tier 1 schools that were fragile but didn't have the same level of support. It's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. There's no guarantees, but in particular, Melrose is a great example, but there are others as well.
Thank you.
I could get you a list, but the 2 other schools that we had on UNISIG last year were Largo Middle School, who came off of DA, and also
Mildred Helms.
Mildred Helms, who came off of DA. So those are, and we had 3. Midtown, we closed when we made it a magnet, a community magnet. But those were 3 qualifying schools.
Right.
So out of that, with 1 we closed. When we closed it, we provided back the UNISIG funds to the State Department. It's only fair. I mean, we closed the school, we reopened it as a magnet, we returned the funds to the State Department. The other 2 schools very successfully got out of DA status.
And have the teachers had any, have you received any feedback from teachers as to whether they felt it was worthwhile?
So every training, you're going to have people who love, some who don't. I think the best thing is, do they keep coming back? So the standards boot camps, which is referenced in this grant, is part of probably the one that you'll see the greatest traction on. Teachers, all of this is volunteer, right? You don't want to come in the summer. You don't want to come on a Saturday. You don't have to. Again, we're paying teachers. Teachers have requested more of those, so we've had more standards boot camps on the Saturdays. Any training, you're going to find some folks who love it, some that don't. But we've seen positive results, or else we wouldn't be bringing it for recommendation.
And they're requesting more, which means, to me, I would believe that that's because they feel like they're getting something out of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Again, some request behavior, some request standards, some request specific reading programs. All of this is not, every teacher has to do everything.
Right.
There are very seasoned teachers at some of these schools. Although we talk about a lot of new teachers, there are seasoned teachers who don't need some of these things and don't need to go. Yeah.
But this is helping those, especially the ones that we find that go into a school and then leave the profession entirely. It's giving them a bigger structure and more skill as a teacher. Okay, thank you.
School Board Member Carr and then School Board Member Lentino.
I appreciate the progress that prior schools made with the Unified Grant and the fact that we have a lot of professional development opportunities. I'd like to refer to page 154 of the packet, which does talk specifically about this item that we're approving, scope of service, where it specifically says, and it's my understanding, that walkthroughs will occur and then follow-up. That's not on a Saturday. That's not service that's provided on perhaps during summer bridge when classes are in sessions, but specifically it says, and I understand the pressure you're under and I appreciate your time in responding to my questions. But however, it does state in those bulleted items many services that are provided during the day. And when I asked my question earlier about this project, I was given the example of what had previously taken place at another school. And when I spoke with the staff at that school, the way this service delivery was provided was in fact during the day, and folks did have someone come to their classroom, observe, do side-by-side coaching, which to me very much mirrors what we do provide with all our current embedded staff. And some of the schools that are listed here have 4 grants already provided. So when you're talking about duplicate services, and I understand the need for an extra layer, but it's a challenge to have to navigate all of that. And while I praise you and I think you're amazing individuals, I don't know how, frankly, we can truly align that many different items. And it concerns me that we're going to pay an individual $157,500 for 64 days of service. So that is why I brought this item up. While I do appreciate all of these other things that we're discussing, like the quality of our professional development and the success of previous grants, this item concerns me, and that's why I'm bringing it forward.
Ms. Lentino?
Yes. The documents that I've been reading here have stressed that our 8 schools in the T-zone area that are in predominantly the south side of our community, we have an opportunity to help our African American and Latino male students. The children that we will be helping in these areas will have a before school and after school, a Saturday academy, a summer bridge, and learning at home. There's several options that these students can choose from. And also during a summer bridge program, which is, I imagine, is going to be conducted during the summertime. The Title I school-based schools that Nikita Reed will be instructing, I think, is very significant to what she is going to be doing, because she can relate, she can empathize, she can have a very a strong hand with the African American and the Latino boys. Because if we want to recognize how the distressed communities and the gap among our African American and Latino boys are creating issues in our schools, it states right here, we have 5 years to turn this around. So why not? And we already did approve the board previously. The board originally approved this. So why shouldn't we try another option? Because the options that my colleague here said, Love and Logic, Sprix Champs, Con Books, have been studies or foundations for classroom management. But we want to try something new. And I think we can allow ourselves, having the resources, to really step out and make a difference in this African American and Latino male student population. I'm not saying, you know, little girls won't be signing up for the program, but we want to reach our African American male students and Latino male students as well. So I really think that this is a good program. I don't know that, you know, 5 years is going to be enough. Maybe we'll do it in 2 years. Maybe we'll do it in 3 years. But I think with Nikita Reed at the helm, I think it's going to be a very successful program, from my opinion.
Dr. Carr, to address your concern on page 154, one of the things that Prime Source does is they are very flexible and they customize their program at each school. So each school bought a certain number of days and they will do it however the school wants. There are some principals who have requested that they do it during the school year, during the school day, for the principal to get assistance in doing classroom visits and working with the teachers. So that's why you see it that way.
Thank you.
Just a couple of, I guess, questions. So for the initial grant that we're talking about for Prime Source, is that a team of individuals that will be coming into the district, or is that one person that's coming into the district? Will they be bringing in a team of persons to work as coaches at the various schools?
So typically, there's a number of folks that come from the company. I wouldn't call them coaches who are going in and embed. They're consultants who come and work side by side with our staff, including our current coaches and our principals and assistant principals. That's the typical arrangement, and that's what we have had so far.
Okay, so when we're looking at the costs, that could potentially be spread out over a number of people, which is why you see the $37,000. Does that also include any supplies or materials that the teachers and or the school are able to keep for additional reference back? Is some of the work maybe computer-based where we have continual access?
Typically, there are materials, and the company provides those.
Okay. And, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to justify the cost. Yeah. For the 1 day of service, I'm sorry, one service day, so that's all that particular school requested, was just that 1 day of service. So if, and I'm just asking this for my own edification, so if someone else decides midway through or whatever, they don't require those additional days, can we move those days around between these schools?
Yes.
Okay. And when I attended the Department of Education's board meeting in Orlando with Dr. Grego, a couple of districts kind of got chewed out. I felt a little sorry for them because when you're an adult, you know, it's just a certain way you talk to people, but they got chewed out about what they had or had not implemented when it came to their schools that were on the verge of going into DA status and some that were already in DA status. And one of the questions was, for one, in South Florida, why haven't you taken advantage of some of the resources that are available? And that particular school, their plan that day did not get approved. They were told they needed to come back after they've done some additional research and logic. So I'm going to support the measure because I reviewed the information from before. Dr. Carr, you made some very valid points. As a trainer in my other world life, sometimes it can be very difficult to layer things on top of each other, but that's when you should be able, when I say you, I'm talking about Prime Source or the other group, Cambrio, you should be able to select those pieces that marry well with what you're doing so that you're building and not just providing something for the sake of providing it because you're getting paid for it, but building so that whatever evaluation tool is used at the end, you should see market improvement. You should be able to see midway through, not necessarily 100%, but see midway through, I can tell that there's going to be a 15-20% gain in their internal reading measures, because some of our schools have really good internal, I call a micro, where you can see the improvement for students, but then when you take the overall view of the whole school, it may look like there's no school improvement when there really is, because it's individual learning gains within those grades and then by student that sometimes doesn't get shown. But I will say that with what the former governor and legislators put in place, what the current governor has alluded to about what they're willing to do, and now going back looking at what they're calling leniency programs. I call it targeting programs that are disciplinary programs designed to try to keep the student in the classroom rather than out. But they're going to review those. I want us to look at every available resource that we have to move all students forward. I know the target is for African American males. We've seen tremendous gains in a number of schools. We still have pockets where a lot of intense support is needed to get them to that point for a number of reasons. But I want to see us make that effort, because if we don't make that effort, it will come out when we appear before the Department of Education's board, and we have to answer why did we not provide, or why did we, or what did we utilize that was at our disposal. The one thing I do like is the immersion of cultural appropriate materials, because we've said this over and over again, students learn differently. Some African American males are very artistic, so if you're going to teach them math, you may have to do it through art. They understand science, but if you can explain to them how science integrates with what paint is made of, they'll get it better. So just the immersion of the culturally appropriate materials is the piece that I'm specifically interested in. I would like, because when I was reading through even before for the evaluation piece, I'd like for us to, maybe in a future workshop, if this passes today, have some updates on how things are going, how teachers are receiving it, how it's being received by the students, and, you know, I would love to see some of that, because that will let us know as well, you know, how we're doing along the way. I'm not saying that you haven't already thought about that, but I would like to see that, because what I would be looking for is, has the overlay of these services moved our students? And if it hasn't moved our students, then, you know, we need to think about something else. The one thing I want to be leery of is, we heard it from teachers, we heard it from parents in the community. Every time we get accustomed to something, you take it away or you change it. And then they have to start over again. And that becomes a point of contention. And rightfully so. You know, change can be difficult for some people, especially when you only do something 1 year and then it's something else, et cetera, et cetera. I know we are looking at a period of time, but, you know, if we see something that's not working, we don't want to wait until the 5 years is up. We want to make those changes ahead of time. So I am going to support it. I do fully understand Dr. Carr's concern, which is why I'm saying perhaps as we move forward, there could be some type of presentation at a workshop to let us know where we are with these particular proposals. The last thing I'm going to say before I wrap up is, Melrose was a very challenging school. It was. And it took a lot of services to help turn that school around. It wasn't just the programs, it was all of that condensed support from outside, from community people coming in. It was the after-school tutorial. I mean, it was just a lot of support, and the willingness for the staff, the principal, and everybody to accept the support, but to streamline it so that those supports didn't take over the school, but added to the school. So I just wanted to mention that because not all schools may excel from this. You may not see the same level of forward movement. You may. But, you know, those cultures are somewhat different when I'm looking at the schools. What happens at Campbell Park is different than what happens at Ponce de Leon or that community. So I just kind of wanted to share that. So hopefully these individuals, if this passes when they go in, they are identifying what are some of the standout issues in that community and how does that relate to what they're doing and what they're providing that's supposed to help the teachers, help the students, to help themselves. But thank you very much for your information. Thank you. And thank you everybody for your comments because they are well noted. They're well noted. Well noted. Thank you, Dr. Carr, for pulling these items and for discussion.
And can I ask one?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And it would be nice to have these large items at workshop for when they're in our purchasing items, which I think would be beneficial
And
in
I
the
totally
future.
agree with you, and as you stated before, is that this item, when we typically have 30 days to complete a state grant, and we typically put these on workshops, and you're right, this was last summer that we put this on the workshop. So I don't disagree with you, but I also did, I could state to you that this was a discussion, but it seems like so long ago, and I'm not saying I'm blaming the state, but it's you typically a very short timeline, and Dr. Connage, wherever she went, has to hustle and get a grant, a well-written grant together in a very short period of time. Unfortunately, sometimes as this one, it's over the summer where people are all trying to take a little bit of rest and vacation, pull that grant together. We rewarded that. We discussed this, you know, to the level of detail. We could certainly get into the nitty-gritty of every grant, but then it was actually approved, I believe, where's Dr. Connage? It was actually approved this past December after. Right. So again, I'm not saying that in a critical way. I'm saying that those are some of the variables that we as districts have to work under. We typically have a 30-day window to submit and pull everything together, and then the approval process is from July all the way to December. My discussion with the State Department on that is that the anticipation is that those resources are going to be used for this current year to improve the schools, of which we're already in January and we're receiving. So if you want those dollars to improve the outcome measures of students, then if we're writing it in July, we ought to be approved in August or September at least, so that those resources and supports for our teachers can be felt throughout the year, not as we're having this discussion in all practical in March. And so with 3 months left of the school year. These dollars sunset in, I believe, October of 2019. So you see some of the predicaments. We could discuss some of the timeline challenges and why some of the principals have to use different methods or different schedules in order to provide that training, what best suits their school's needs, and as they discuss these things with their teachers and staff. Summer is a very a good time in terms of, and we do use our summer bridge programs to conduct walkthroughs and to do some trainings with that. So just for your information. Thank you so much for the discussion, though.
And the items on 149 through 155.
Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. So we have a 5 to 7. I had to count.
5 to 2.
5 to 2. Ooh, I said 5 to 7. I'm sorry. 5 to 2 vote. Please forgive me. Motion passes. Thank you all so very much. Moving on to our non-consent agenda. Item number 1, setting a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing dealing with home education. Dr. Greco?
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, this was the one of the topics of home education. The following one, I'm going to keep Mr. Dull up to number 2, so I'll introduce one at a time. The second one is dealing with charter schools, and Mr. Rick Wolf also is here for support. Ms. Dull?
Good evening, board members, staff, and community members. Tonight, I bring for you for first reading for setting a public policy for policy 9270, home education. Much of the changes that are proposed within this policy have to do with legislative requirements from the 2018 session. This is our last set from 2018 into this school year. Some of the high-level updates to this include updating the parent responsibility for instructional materials and curriculum. It clarifies parent responsibility for compliance with Florida statutes and notification specifically to the school district and around portfolio management that the parents have to do. It clarifies and adds language regarding eligibility for specific extracurricular activities, Bright Futures Scholarship Program, dual enrollment, assessments, and Florida or Pinellas virtual school. It also clarifies language and denotes that the district is not authorized to provide a regular high school diploma to home education students. So this is first reading. We came with this one in workshop in January, and will be up for second reading in April 9th.
Yes, I think oftentimes we criticize what the legislature has done and the statutes that they ask us to incorporate into our policies. But I want to say that this is one that I think is good. It's good for the homeschool students to understand and their parents to understand what's going on, but it's also good for us so that we also know that when they come back, should they decide to join us in high school or something like that, that you know, we're at the right standards and the right things have been taught. So I think this is a good one, so I do want to give credit where credit is due. And thank you for the work you've done on it.
Can we move to the second?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second is also a first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, please forgive me. It's just no public, but it's a vote. So do we have a motion with a second?
Okay, second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now number 2.
The second is setting a public hearing for the policy change of 9800, the charter schools. Ms. Dahl?
This one also updates in accordance with the 2018 legislative session and also has language clarifications to make sure that all are on the same page as what the policy is for charter schools. So some of the highlights there, in the first page it updates the language regarding the board's right to terminate any performance contract if a charter school fails to participate in the state's education accountability system. It also updates the timeline for application and consideration to create a charter school. It specifies, this is kind of a minor one, but that our home education office is the designee for the superintendent for any submissions or technical assistance. It updates language regarding the responsibility of the charter school applicants to complete the Florida State training and use their systems in order to put in a charter. And it clarifies the documents that are needed for a charter school if and when they request a change that is made to the contract that's already approved by the board. So again, this one went to workshop in January and would come back for second reading on April 9th.
Any questions or comments?
Move approval. We can still have conversation.
Is there a second? Ms. Eileen seconded. Mr. Kapersky, the word materially that's underlined, do we have to, are we required to further explain materially? Because some people may have a different definition of what they consider to be a material.
That's a very astute question. That word was added into the statute, and that is why we were adding it into the policy. There is no statutory definition. That definition could be adjudicated by an administrative law judge as to what that means. Okay. So, for example, if the school board believes that one of its charters is materially violating the law or the contract, it obviously needs to be more than just a technical violation. But if we believe that that is the case and the superintendent brings that recommendation to terminate and they ask for a hearing, that will be determined by the administrative law judge.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions? Do you have a motion with a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And number 3, request approval of the cooperative agreement renewal for EAS programs at Chi-Chi.
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, this is a long-term partnership that our school district has with Chi-Chi Rodriguez Foundation. And I'm looking out because Michelle Topping was to just bring some of the highlights, but as we wait for her, if she's, I don't know if there was a cross in the communications. I want to say thank you to David Kapersky, because he's the one that, not to put him on the spot because Michelle's not here, but he was the one that did organize this contract, sit down with them and update this contract. As you know, this is EAS, Educational Alternative Services program. If you drive by the Chi-Chi Rodriguez Golf Course, there's some portables up front there, and that's where our students reside. There's between 88 or 100, 120 students there. They do tremendous work in that area. If they're behind in credit, they catch up there, and then the whole goal is there to go return back to their home zone school. I placed it at your desk area, and it was supposed to be attached to it, but for some reason the software we're using, we're having some issues with it. But the Chi-Chi Rodriguez Youth Foundation, the board of directors, you can certainly see this name of very prominent individuals in the community that partner with our school district. It's led by Tom James, the chairman of the Chi-Chi Rodriguez Foundation. And I'm not going to read them all, but Frank Chevis is the vice chairman. So these are individuals that are truly interested in our schools. It's a single-page document. I see some of you looking at it. So this was originally attached to your agenda item. If you read your agenda, you would have seen that there is an attachment to it. It just didn't get connected to it. Mr. Kapersky?
Yes, just to go over a couple of the highlights. I think I'm as familiar with it as Ms. Topping. One of the main reasons we wanted to address this long-standing contract, and it's the contract that you currently have with Chi-Chi Rodriguez Foundation, the one that they're operating under right now until you vote on this, hopefully to pass it, was entered into a couple of decades ago. And so that was just an ongoing contract, and so that is when it needed to be updated. But one of the primary reasons we needed to update it was to bring it up to speed to some of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Act requirements, including the assignment of a safe schools officer at the site. And as you can see in the agenda item, we negotiated a 50-50 split of the cost of that person. That person has already been assigned there. As you can see, this contract will actually be retroactive. We don't like to do that too often, but in this case, we had to assign that person there for the safety of the students in compliance with the law. And then the contract will catch up with it, but they will be responsible for the cost, half of the cost of that from the time that person was assigned there. There were other provisions that were updated to bring it up to speed, not only with the safety statutes, but with other statutes as well. So it is a long-term contract, but we did put in there an out. There's a 60-day termination without cause provision. So if we see that things are not going as well as they have been going, we can terminate that contract. The only provision there is that we agreed not to terminate it in the middle of a semester, which makes sense for the continuity of the education of those students.
Right.
So we expect that this will go forward. It's going well so far, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I see Ms. Topping just stepped in, so I didn't know if Dr. Grego wanted to have her say a few words.
I think we covered it pretty. But if the board has any questions, Ms. Topping is here.
Okay, it's been motioned and said, thank you for coming. Mr. Kapersky did a really good job impersonating you. We have a motion with the second related to this item. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And our last item here is the approval of the Fraternal Order of Police contract.
So our last negotiations for this school year, and we're very proud. And Ms. Texel, thank you so much, and thank you to all of our teams as we bring this to a close. But go ahead.
Good evening, once again, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Gego, and staff. I am here this evening to request approval of the tentative agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, who represent our school's police officers. Over the past several months, the district bargaining team held several collaborative sessions with FOP, and where we focused on healthcare, salaries, and contract language. We had just very minimal minor changes to our contract language that will now be going into effect. In addition to that contract language, the group agreed to health care costs, which included the board contributing approximately 86% of the increased costs, similar to our other groups. The board will also be contributing the $1.9 million for increased FRS contribution for all the employees with no additional cost to them. And finally, the support employees covered by FOP will receive a raise equal to an average of 2.55%, which was consistent with the other groups, which is retroactive to July 1st, 2018. And if approved today, these employees will be receiving their raises and retro checks on March 8th. The total compensation package increase totals approximately 3.55%, which again includes our salary, healthcare costs, and FRS contributions. And I also wanted to point out that this bargaining group approved this by 97% in favor of this agreement. So that was a good, again, another well-passed agreement. So on behalf of the superintendent's staff, we ask that you approve this recommendation this evening.
Well, thank you. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you so very much. We are appreciative. Moving on to our new business items introduced by the superintendent.
Real quickly, thank you, Madam Chair and school board members. I want to thank all the board members for their attendance at so many different functions, and we're not even near the end of the year. But I do want to thank Ms. Kane and Ms. Lentino for attending the Citizens Alliance of Progress, and also thank the former Mayor David Archie for just a wonderful program highlighting our students and honoring Martin Luther King in such a meaningful way at Innisbrook. And I really want to thank him publicly and the CAP program, the Citizens Alliance for Progress, making a difference in Tarpon Springs in that area. I think it's a great model to be replicated throughout our community. Also want to thank the Urban League and certainly our MC for that day, Ms. Flowers, for honoring Coach Corey Moore from Lakewood High School. And a great celebration and great luncheon, and yes, a great gentleman. I sent to the board because I was very excited last Friday when our girls team from Palm Harbor University High School won a state championship. And, you know, I probably wouldn't have had the heading, "It's been a drought," but you know what? It was good coverage either way. And so I'll take any coverage that is good. But just kudos to the Hurricanes. They won the state 5A girls soccer championship, and in a real battle, real tremendous athletes and tremendous guts. And so it was senior midfielder Lauren Kane who scored the lone goal from a corner kick. So they finished their season 18-1-1, and congratulations to Coach Randy Eric and Principal Dr. Kristen Gonzalez. Tremendous. And we also, in that same school, I just know it, we also had a single state championship female wrestler in the 117-pound category. So Palm Harbor University had a great week, and so we also have many other schools in the finals. To kind of stay with the athletics for a second, Coach Dudley, is that we opened up our lacrosse, first time ever. We had two teams playing our inaugural lacrosse. We had over 250 tickets sold for the game. So it is going to grow. It's a great sport, and it is absolutely catching on. Thank you to Al Bennett for his leadership, really pushing and rallying and communicating with the communities, finding fields, referees. It takes a lot to start a sport. You just don't walk up out on the field and have everything in place, whether it's lights or refs or therapists, players, everything, coaches, and so forth. So thank you, Mr. Bennett, for that. Last week, as I mentioned to you, I did attend, and so did Mr. Herbeck and several of our staff members, Chief Luke Williams, the convening of FADS. We had one of the largest convenings ever assembled in the state around school safety. I traveled there with Sheriff Galtieri, who was one of the speakers, and then I spoke on behalf of the superintendents. We had some of the most meaningful conversations about next steps and actionable items, actionable steps that I've ever heard, so that is a positive. And I certainly want to share some of those with our school board during our workshop. But I can say to you that we are moving on each of those items, and we have satisfied every aspect of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act. Sandy Hook Promise is this Thursday, the 28th. Mark Burden, who's a co-founder and managing director of Sandy Hook Promise, will be at Northeast High School from 8 to 9 a.m. As you know, we celebrated and worked with another co-founder of the Sandy Hook Promise over at Madeira Beach Fundamental K-8, a tremendous celebration of that. So now we're going to be at Northeast High School this Thursday morning. Also on Thursday from 2 to 3, the final kickoff, finally the kickoff for the Career Acceleration Program. This was mentioned earlier from our partners from Duke Energy. They've been a great supporter and inspiration for this, so this will be happening there too. I also want to give a real strong shout out to all of our teachers and principals and administrators who participated in this year's Battle of the Books. I believe Battle of the Books is that one event that everyone wins because everyone's reading. And yes, certain kids walk off with these trophies and they won, but the fact is we're getting kids and students to read thousands and thousands of books that otherwise, without this type of lightweight competition, but you wouldn't know it's lightweight if you watch them. They're competing to win, but there's so much excitement here. We conducted that, and in our schools, I'm so pleased with the progress that we're making in so many different ways to read and to engage kids, the love of reading. I want to celebrate and say thank you to Eastlake High Schools. They last week performed at Carnegie Hall, the Distinguished Concerts International in New York, and I talked to the choir director. They had a wonderful trip, uneventful, but eventful that they were in Carnegie Hall and traveling through New York City. What a memorable, students will never forget that trip. Also want to say thanks to recently, this past week, I'm not even sure I put this in your last Friday's report, but the Washington Post again ranked Clearwater High School one of the most challenging high schools in Pinellas County and number 162 in the nation out of over 2,400 schools. And this deals with the rankings that in terms of high-level classes, the Cambridge programs, the dual enrollment programs, the AP programs, the AP capstone programs, so many of their students, percentage-wise, are engaged in some level of post-secondary education. I placed at your seat area a letter I received just yesterday, and I thought it was very appropriate because of our focus on music, a letter from the Community Engagement Director, but on behalf of the Florida Orchestra, thanking this board. I know the letter was addressed to me, but I want to say thank you to this board for the support. Also has a couple of pictures in there, but just thanks to what we're doing in growing musical talent and using music as a basic form of public education, as Ms. Reynolds said before. I also sent to you the invitation that Mr. Nelson wanted me to share, and I think Ann Simonetti shared it with you, that on April 13th, there'll be the 5th annual Spring Fling 5K, and these resources go directly back to all of these resources go back to our school community, and you can certainly take a look at some of the charities that are listed there. I believe that concludes my report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, the Spring Fling, do they have a category for crawling? 'Cause
They do have a walk. They do have a walk. You can walk.
No, Alicia said crawl.
Crawling.
5K is 3.1 miles. I know, I'm sure we can all do it. So, and he is very much desiring the board to any involvement that you would like. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Items introduced by our school board attorney.
No report, thank you, ma'am.
All right. Items introduced by school board members, Ms. Lentino, and then Ms. Long.
Yes. I had the opportunity to make a small contribution to the Health and Human Services meeting that was hosted by Marcy Biddleman from the JWB. on last Thursday, and I stopped by Gulfport Elementary School on Thursday to give my 1 hour of support in the kindergarten classroom. Those children are moving really well. They're getting to mix up the sentences and get them all straight. I'm very happy about that. I also presented a speech for the Pinellas Technical College for the certification for the signing day. It was a very effective speech, and I thought that Dr. Corbett gave me a thumbs up on that one. And that was a very meaningful speech for me because it was the second time that I was able to do that. I've been down at Happy Workers from 10 to 12:30 on Friday afternoon, and at the 50th celebration for the arts associations at Walsingham, the Pinellas Community Foundation, it's their 50th anniversary celebration, and it was all about art. And what they did at this property on Walsingham Road, they completed one building for an administration building, and then they had two other buildings. One building was filled with art objects and other things that we would love to see in our own neighborhoods, I'm sure. And then there was another building where there was a presentation of a running reel that kept going around and around, and we stopped it for a certain amount of time so we could have a presentation by the directors of the 50th year celebration for the for the Walsingham Arts exhibit. On Saturday, I attended the Bel Air Country Club to attend a luncheon. It was a very meaningful luncheon because Stacy Baer, the president of our Pinellas Education Foundation, was in attendance, and she sat at our table, very nice. And the money that was raised for all those baskets, that we had a bazillion baskets around in the Bel Air Country Club, all that money that was raised for those baskets, that all went to the Take Stock in Children Foundation. So I was very happy to see that that was something that I was supporting out at Azalea Middle School with one of my students. The community, and then as Dr. Grego mentioned, the Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock, Community Alliance program. It was hosted at Innisbrook Golf Course. It was a lovely opportunity. We had a nice luncheon, and then we had 3 children from the Pinellas County Schools that made a presentation and read their letter about how they supported Dr. Martin Luther King, and it was a very worthwhile opportunity for me and a lot of other people that were in attendance at that luncheon. So I think that was a really good week for me. I probably ate too much, but whatever, you know. But anyway, it was a worthwhile time that I had, and I was very much appreciative, and it's always a privilege to serve the school board. Thank you.
Long, and then Ms. Cook.
Yes, Friday was the FSBA legislative meeting, and just a few things that came out of it. First of all, on Wednesdays, they are consolidating their legislative and their emails, so on Wednesdays you will be seeing the new format. It's very informative. It eliminates a lot of our emails, which I know is going to help all of us. The big discussion was about term limits for school board members. It has passed through its second reading in the House, second committee. They are in favor of 8 years, where some of the Senate are looking at more of a 12-year. It's going to be quite a challenge. Some of the other things that came out of this meeting were that the Senate is really going to try to help move recertification, make it more, I don't know if I don't want to use the word easier, but more efficient. There you go. Thank you. and looking at alternative pathways for people to become certified in education. Dr. Grego, you've done a great job because through the superintendents, it's right on with everything that we've learned. We will be having weekly meetings starting, I believe, this coming Friday, or no, not till March 8th, which will keep us up to date on what's happening in Tallahassee. And I also want to give a shout out to Janet Cunningham at Calvin Hunsinger. She did a summer program up at the University of Florida. It's called Catalyst. And she went back to Calvin, did some research, and she is being published by the University of Florida, one of our very own. So congratulations, Ms. Cunningham.
Very good, very good.
When?
At 12 o'clock, 12 to 1.
Where, here?
No, you do
on
it
the
from your
computer.
computer.
Ms. Flowers is the
I'll
main,
make
and I'm
sure
the
the
alternate.
information gets to everybody, and you're welcome to log on, even though I'm the rep and Eileen's the alternate. Anybody can go on, and that way you can hear the dialogue and discussion. So we'll make sure that gets out to everybody. So you just click on the link, and then it'll start. Yeah, they're usually pretty punctual. Ms. Cook, Ms. Kane, and then Ms. Carr.
All righty. Today I attended the final, the Value Adjustment Board that, we signed off on it. We have our final tax and what we're going to be doing. But, and we'll start up again in July with our new year that we start, and looking forward to the taxing that is done. We have, by law, 1 board member, 2 county commissioners, a citizen that is appointed by the county commission, and a citizen that is appointed by the board. We can talk about it at a workshop if you'd like, or if you are willing, the person that has been serving as our public representative, Michael Bitterman, is willing to serve again. He has done a fine job for us. He has really dug in, learned the job and what it's all about. So I will handle that as, the will of the board, whether you would like to appoint him. Would that need to be an agenda item, or is that something that we could do?
No, you could make a motion right now if you'd
That's
like,
right,
if
okay.
the board.
So I'll make a motion, just so that the conversation can start. I'll make a motion that we ask him to continue on as our representative to the Value Adjustment Board.
I know, I'm gonna second that.
There's a second.
How old is he? I mean, what age range is he?
Ours, yours and mine.
Ours.
Yeah. He's a realtor in the area, very familiar with property values and that type of thing, which is why he originally was asked to serve.
And how long has he been serving?
3, maybe 4 years.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be careful about when we ask that age question.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we'll get in trouble. Yeah. So we have a motion with a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have any that are opposed?
Nay.
6 yeas, 1 nay. Motion passes. So the necessary letter will go out to Mr. Bitterman, letting him know that he's been reappointed to the Value Adjustment Board.
And one other thing, we agreed at our workshop that we were going to do the training with, the Master Board training with Florida School Boards Association. I have a paper that we all need to sign. So if we could do that before you leave tonight, that way we can get it sent in and let them know that we're willing to do that. I've also checked the box that we would be a willing county to host it, so that I think Polk County, or Pasco County and Hillsborough County are looking at doing it with us. So after we get that in, we're going to get some dates together, and we'll find out, when we're available to do it. The suggestion has been that maybe we do it in June, with a lot of things that are happening between now and the end of the year. Also, not only with us, but also with the consultants that do the training. So if that's okay, we'll start looking at June dates and get in touch with everyone. So does that work? Yep. All righty. And let's start signing that. Thank you very much. That's it.
All right, next, Ms. Kane and then Ms. Carr.
Thank you all so very much. With it being I had the distinct privilege this past week, I believe, of meeting with the St. Petersburg Arts Alliance. And given that it is now, March will be our Arts Month, I just want to state how important it is for our community and for all those involved to get behind the arts community of Pinellas County and to reach out to our legislators and so forth this month as they go in to vote about various arts funding and grants throughout the county and the state. So it's very important for us to get involved. Also, was able to also be at the Health and Human Services meeting at the JWB. We're working towards consolidating different mental health groups throughout the county, and Pinellas County, of course, will be a big part of that. And had a great time at the CAPS luncheon on Sunday. One quick announcement I just wanted to put out there again. This Friday, March 1st, is Sandy Lane Elementary's second annual Dr. Seuss Day. So
Yeah.
come read a Dr. Seuss book to a group of children. It's going to be a really fun day. I'm excited and ready to participate. So that's pretty awesome.
I think Ms. Kane offered outfits, costumes, or something.
I have little cat that's going to come with me.
Okay, okay.
And be little cat B. So
Okay.
I'm ready. Yes, I'm coming in costume. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Carr, Dr. Carr, and then Ms. Dudley, Mr. Dudley.
Thank you. And I would just like to express my gratitude for also, we all three attended that workshop, and to Miss Donna Cecilian for representing us so well at that meeting, because there were some questions and concerns that were brought forth, and she stepped forward, clarified things, and represented the district in a very positive way. So expressing gratitude to her. And just to continue with the student services, I also had the opportunity to go be a part of the All Together.
All Together Now?
That was this yesterday, and I was unable to attend it today, but yesterday, and thank you to Dr. Grego for representing us as a part of the panel of superintendents. So it really addressed, as well as having a lot of representatives from our student services department and risk, who really were not only participants, but demonstrating what an effective department we have and what a good job we're doing in the area of risk identification and looking at suicide prevention, and specifically addressing the needs of our LGBTQ community and those GSA groups, and the importance of having them to provide support to our students to prevent suicide. So and other risky behaviors. So I really appreciate all the work that folks are doing and representing us so well within the community as we address and try and meet the needs of our community.
Fabulous. Coach Dudley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, my weekly cry to extracurricular activities and attending. We did music today, and I have to tell you, as I listened to the proclamation here, to study music contributes to young person's development through heightened skills in listening, reading, self-expression, and creativity. As a parent of my daughter was a music person in high school, and she went to the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, got a degree in music, and she's made a vocation out of it. And I can't tell you how important it is for parents to feed their kids this. If it's something they want to do, please let them, get into and get involved in it. And as parents and as general public, go and endorse that by you showing up. It can lead to a lifetime of love. And my daughter is a classic example. And I want to thank you for giving me the chance to chit-chat here about it's really important to me. I'm a coach, yeah, but I'm also a dad and I'm a person who appreciates the arts. And I can't say enough about how important they are. And so when you get a chance to go to a concert, please go and support the arts. It's, you know, they define a culture by the arts. And if you don't believe that, go back and look at the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, and all that, the art and all that, and how so much of that is with us today. But anyway, I just wanted to say that, and I'm very impressed with the music programs, the drama programs, and everything in Pinellas County Schools. And again, the last, once a Viking, always a Viking. Thank you.
Oh, happy birthday, Coach.
Well, I want to thank all of you for the card. We just drop it there, and thank you.
All right. Just two quick things. Well, three. I was very honored to MC the Whitney M. Young Luncheon. And Coach Corey, many people don't even know he played professional football with the Vikings. And he stated that his joy, even though a number of players that have played under him have gone on to college and the pros. As a matter of fact, both of his players were on opposing teams for the Super Bowl. So when they asked him who he was rooting for, he said Lakewood High School. I was like, that's good choice. But I love the fact that he still keeps education at the heart and center for everything that he does. So that was a sincere pleasure. I was supposed to attend the All Together Now event, but then I got a call saying I was being honored and given an award at another location. It's kind of hard to get an award and don't show up, so I did contact the All Together Now people to let them know I couldn't be there. But thank you for sharing how wonderful it was. They did tell me that Dr. Grego was going to serve on a panel along with Andrea Messina from the Florida School Board Association and some others. So that was really good. I just have one, I guess this will be something for Dr. Corbett to bring back to us, or if you guys agree to go into a workshop with it, but some of us have gotten calls or communications about differing ranges for fees for athletics. And so if you want to just bring the information back, because, you know, if the uniforms and all of that is supposed to be paid out of that budget for that department, then we have some individuals, parents saying, no, they are paying for the uniforms and they're told they have to leave the uniforms for the school for other students to use, then the boosters and all of that. So we can just get some clarity on that, and that way when if a parent asks us, a community person or whatever, we can say, no, this is how it's supposed to be, contact Mr. Bennett and let him. So however you all want it, just information back to us or something to talk about in the workshop. So that was all that I have. And a very short month this month, but I've attempted to address why it's so important to share culture and heritage across all cultures and all heritages. But in the Black History Month, I just love wearing attire and have people to ask me different questions about the colors or the symbols and what does that mean. I've had a chance to go to a number of organizations and provide information related to the history of African Americans. Tomorrow I will be with Leadership St. Pete. Usually they have us talk about leadership and the school board and what it's like. But this year they asked if I would come and talk about African Americans as it relates to the advancement of education and economics. So I get to do that. So I'm excited about that because it'll be interesting to see the dialogue and conversation that goes back. But so anyway, as we bring a close to Black History Month, it's 28 days in the month. We have a short month. However, Black history is 365 days of the year. So that's all I have to say. This was a good meeting. I enjoyed my meeting. So after we close out the meeting, we will certainly have individuals from the community who have an opportunity to speak. We will finish up with our school board evaluation in the back. And again, thank you, each and every one of you, for all that you do. I think we've had some real good dialogue and conversation on today. Please know that you are appreciated for your service. I will end the meeting. And we will call upon Ms. Ann Simonetti to call any speakers that we have for this evening.
Board members and Dr. Grego, we have 5 speakers this evening. Our first 2 are Joe Morgan and Mike Gandolfo.
Joseph Morgan, Coalition of Pinellas County School Bus Drivers, speaking truth to power. A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. Jackie Robinson. What kind of impact do you want to have, Dr. Grego and Pinellas County School Board members? Do you want your noble quest to educate our children to include race-based theft? Stealing from low-wage workers? I would like to think better of you. In honor of Black History Month, how about honoring one of our employees, Mrs. Ethel Faison, by returning a month of pay the district has took from her based on her race? 2 other women, both white, were paid in full in the exact same circumstances as hers. After I spoke these words at the last school board meeting, Mrs. Flowers berated me for utilizing an African American for my platform, and she said this was unacceptable. What was unacceptable was not one school board member spoke out of the injustice my friend, Ms. Faison, has suffered. Another driver, myself, please Google Joe Morgan school bus crash, who nearly lost his life in one of the most horrific school bus crashes in Pinellas.